Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. My name is Monica, and for today's video, we're going to talk about all the books that I've read for the month of March. For the month of March, I read a total of 6 books. Did not hit my 8-book goal, but that's okay. I'm going at my own pace. It's not a race. It's not a competition. I'm just taking it one book at a time. The first book I read for the month of March would be The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. Now, I have not a great review for this. Okay, let's talk about why I gave this book a 2-star, I believe, and I think it was because I was being nice. The premise of this book was super intriguing. It was super interesting. It was up my alley. I love books that have to do with writing, authors, editors, publishing houses, anything like that. I eat it up. However, this book was just so slow and it was so predictable for me. And I'm the kind of person who gets manipulated very easily when it comes to a thriller. But for some reason, I was able to guess the entire time what was going to happen next. And it was just very slow, unhinged at times, but not in a good way for me. So this book follows Alex, who is basically not doing very good as an author. I believe she is a thriller or horror writer. She is given the opportunity of a lifetime to attend a 1-month-long retreat in the month of February, hosted by her favorite author, whose name is Rosa. In this retreat, it takes place at Rosa's Victorian Gothic mansion in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the woods. Within this retreat, you are basically given 1 month long, the shortest month of the year, which is February, to write a full novel. Whoever writes the best book gets basically an opportunity of their wildest dreams. They get the book published, they also win a lot of money, and they get a lot of perks as an author. The only conflict about this for Alex is that her ex-best friend Ren is also going to be attending this retreat, and they basically get 28 days to write a book from scratch to finish. This book is unhinged at times. It's chaotic. I was like, what in the world am I reading? It's just insane. The toxic friendship that these two girls have with each other, the other girls within the group that are kind of weird. And honestly, I just did not enjoy it. I did not enjoy it. The premise, again, sounds really, really interesting. It's very atmospheric. I love stories where it takes place in the woods and there's a storm outside and it's very gothic and creepy. All of those vibes were there. However, it just didn't hit for me. It just wasn't interesting, and it is a very short book too. And it took me forever to finish it. I just did not enjoy it at all. I didn't like this book at all, and I'm gonna move on because I don't want to keep bashing it. So for the next book I read, though, I happily gave this book a 5-star, and it is worth the hype, and that is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. Now, this is my second Lucy Foley book. The first one I read was The Paris Apartment, and I absolutely loved it. I loved everything about that book. I love how Lucy manipulates you. I love how she gives you X amounts of characters and you get their POVs. It's just great. And every single chapter leaves you on a like, what's gonna happen next? And then it skips on to a different character. The whole reading experience when it comes to Lucy Foley for me by far has been really great. This book takes place on a remote Irish island in a very exclusive wedding. And obviously one person ends up dead and then you don't really know who the killer is, so it's basically a whodunit. I loved it so much. An exclusive wedding on a remote Irish island. The bride, the +1, the best man, the wedding planner, the bridesmaid. All have a secret, all have a motive, but only one is a murderer. This was so great, you guys. Like, the creepy, dark atmosphere of being stuck in this island when it's stormy and windy and you can't really get out of the island. You have to like boat yourself out of the island. It was phenomenal and it was so interesting. You get all these characters' points of views, and it was also very fun because I listened to the audio version of this book along with the physical copy. So I listened to it, but I read along as well, and that experience to me was the best because there's a lot of slang words in here, Irish slang words in here, that when I was trying to read this on my own, I was like, this is not doing it for me. At times I was very confused, and it was just so nice because the audio version provides a full cast of characters. So each character has their own unique Irish accent or their own unique accents, and I thought that was phenomenal. I love this book so much. It was so dark and creepy. It just kept me on my toes. Definitely highly recommend if you haven't read this already. This is my second Lucy Foley, and she has not disappointed at all. And I love how all her books are very atmospheric. I just love getting the points of views of multiple characters. I think that's very fun and entertaining. Also a nice palette change from reading from one character to the other. I don't know if that makes any sense, but definitely really enjoyed this story. I loved it so much. Okay, so next up, I continued and I finished, sadly, the Twisted series. So I continued it with Twisted Hate, which is book 3, and then I followed it up and wrapped it up with Twisted Lies, which is the last book in the series by Anna Huang. So let's talk about Twisted Hate. Twisted Hate by far is my favorite book out of the entire series. I will always rave and rant about Josh and Jules's romance. They are just perfect in an unperfect way. They are so realistic. And let me just read you the back because it explains it so much better than I would. Gorgeous, cocky, and fast on his way to become a hotshot doctor, Josh Chen has never met a woman he couldn't charm except for Jules Ambrose. The beautiful redhead has been a thorn in his side since they met, but she also consumes his thoughts in a way no woman ever has. When their animosity explodes into one unforgettable night, he proposes a solution that'll get her out of his own system once and for all. An enemies with benefits arrangement with simple rules. No jealousy, no strings attached, and absolutely no falling in love. Oh, this was so intense in the most, I don't even know how to explain it. This was so intense in the most perfect way, you guys. Like, enemies to lovers, not friends with benefits, but enemies with benefits. And Josh, the way he is so mean in a sense, like they will throw jabs at each other, harsh jabs, and he's so controlling and uptight. But the steamy scenes in this book were just immaculate, just top notch for me. It was just everything. This book was so good. The tension that they had, the hate that they have for each other. I just really enjoyed this book so much. I tabbed quite a bit of it. So many scenes in this book were just so vivid and will always stick in my mind. And it's just such a great romance, such a great romance. I loved these characters so much. The problems and issues that they had within themselves. I love that they hated each other so much to the point where they couldn't stand each other, because you know when they get together, it was just phenomenal, like phenomenal. The last book in the series is Twisted Lies, and this one is about Christian and, what was her name? Christian and Stella. And it says, if my thoughts were a chaos, she was my anchor. They always went back to her. Charming, deadly, and smart enough to hide it, Christian Harper is a monster dressed in the perfectly tailored suits of a gentleman. He has little use for morals and even less for love. But he can't deny the strange pull he feels toward the woman living just one floor below him. She's the object of his darkest desires, the only puzzle he can't solve, and when the opportunity to get closer to her arises, he breaks his own rules to offer her a deal she can't refuse. Every monster has their own weakness. She's his obsession, his addiction, his only exception. And that's how Christian treats her. He is so borderline excessively addicted to this woman. He doesn't want to be. He doesn't want to be obsessed with her. He doesn't want to believe in love. He doesn't want to believe in falling for her. He hates that he feels this way about her, and it's just incredible. He is kind of a darker character, so you would describe him as almost like being in the mob, where he's very clean cut, well-spoken, well-shaven. He's a very successful businessman, has a lot of money, but he also runs a side business that's not very legal. He will kill a man for this woman. So I absolutely love this guy. Like, I loved his personality. I love how dark he is. And Stella is more innocent. She's sweet, shy, introverted. It's just, they're so perfect. Their romance is so perfect. I completely believed in their romance. I fell in love with Christian, and it was just so great. And I think this one's more of a fake dating. She's an influencer and he's obviously a wealthy businessman, also borderline like illegal wealthy businessman, meaning he kills people if he needs to, or he blackmails people. He has a business of blackmailing people on top of his penthouse real estate business. She has a stalker who was at first tolerant, but then he became too creepy to the point where he would take pictures of private scenes with her, like meaning if she's out eating dinner with her friends, he was somehow there taking snapshots of her, or he would be around her close proximity but never really confronted her. That's pretty sketchy and scary on her end. Her social media wasn't really growing or getting anywhere, and she really wanted to get more opportunities, and she has realized that I actually need to have a fake boyfriend because they're more popular on social media in order for my business to grow and for me to have all these other endless amounts of opportunities. So Christian signed up to be her fake boyfriend, and it's their romance, and the story goes from there. And I'm not going to say any more. You guys just need to read it. It is so good. He is, even though he is so just like, man, he kills people, right? Like, he is so dark and so unforgiving when it comes to other people. He will bend over backwards for her and do anything. He will jump off a bridge for her if she says to do it. So like, it is so romantic, so good. I love seeing a male character basically be set in his ways in a story, and one incredible woman comes along and just changes and alters his universe forever for the good. You see him blossom and not admit his feelings to her for a long time, but hating the fact that he feels this for her. And it's just, gosh, the passion is there all the way. 5 stars for me. I love this universe. I'm so sad that it ended, and I'm probably going to read King of Wrath next because that's another series that Anne Hunk has, and so it involves a character within this universe, and I can't wait to read about him because he also sounds borderline mafia. So I am interested in reading about his love life, and it's an arranged marriage, so I'm all about it. The next book I read is Ricochet by Krista and Becca Ritchie. Now, this is the second book in the Addicted series, and it's so funny because I have a love-hate relationship with this book. This book is literally 290 pages, and I'm like, I will just continue to read this series because everybody thrives about it. However, the first book in the series, Addicted to You, was not really my cup of tea. I just did not like the couple in it for some reason, or I didn't believe in their love. And this follows the same couple, obviously, because it's a whole series based on this couple, Lauren and Lily, and they are both addicted to something. Lauren is addicted to alcohol and Lily is addicted to sex. They've been best friends for years and years. In order for them to hide their addictions to their loved ones and their family members, they decide to fake date, pretend that they're in this beautiful, healthy relationship to hide their addictions from them. And it's their romance, and you just see so much of these characters, so many struggles when they go through their addictions, how each other enables each other in a not so healthy way, but you can feel the love for each other. So here's my thoughts on this. I gave this book a 3, I believe. The entire time, mostly the entire time of reading this, I was like, I cannot read this book. It took me forever, by the way, to finish it. And I was like, I cannot read one more sentence because it was like pulling teeth. I was just not there, not invested, not interested. For some reason, I just did not enjoy it, just kind of like the first book. However, as I kept reading along in the story, I was becoming invested in not only Lauren and Lily, I was becoming invested in her sisters because they are also mentioned in the story and they are part of the series, and their love interests. And it was very interesting for me to read that for some reason, by the end of this book, I told myself I'm going to give this book a 3 or 3.5 because I'm actually now invested in these characters and I love these characters so much that I have to read the next book in the series to see where each of their romances go. And so I think this is what people are talking about when they say this series is their favorite series, because there's a lot of character building, there's a lot of found family in here, there's a lot of topics that you get to see each character go through and blossom from their experiences. The romances blossom. This series offers everything, and I'm starting to understand why people love it so much. So I gave this book a 3, but I might give it a 3.5 because now I am invested and now I want to continue the series. The last book I read was The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani. Chokshi? I don't know if I'm saying that right, but this is everything. Okay, so this book is fiction, fantasy, romance, dark, gothic, you name it, it's got everything in it. And I'm surprised that I enjoyed this book this much. I gave this book a 4-star and it well deserves it. Let me just back up a little bit. The beginning of the book is a little slow because it's fantasy. There's a lot of flowery language in there that for me was unnecessary, but it is fantasy, so that's what you're going to get in a fantasy. And I was like, what am I reading? I don't know if I like this. I don't know if this is my jam. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this. But as the book progressed, it blew my mind in a way that I really enjoyed how much of a slow burn it was. I really enjoyed the details. I really enjoyed being left like on a cliffhanger at the end of each chapter, if that makes any sense. And I just really enjoyed my experience with this book. This is the description of it. A sumptuous, gothic-infused story about a marriage that is unraveled by dark secrets, a friendship cursed to end in tragedy, and the danger of believing in fairy tales. So that's exactly what it is. In this book, everything becomes chaotic and unhinged at the end. I was like, what in the world am I reading? And when I'm talking about the end, it led up to maybe it being like 100 pages left where it started to pick up, and I was like all for it. I was like, oh my gosh. There was one point in the book where I was like, this better not end the way I'm thinking it's gonna end, because I would not like to have read this far along the book and it end the way I'm thinking it's gonna end. And it did not. It surprised me in the best way. I had closure at the end. I was satisfied with the ending. I wouldn't have added any more. I loved it. I loved the length of the book. And it's so interesting because you get the points of views of only 2 characters. You don't get the point of view of the main character, which is Indigo. So you get the point of view of the main character's husband and the main character's best friend. There's secrets and lies that are unrevealed. There's a toxic friendship, which is always very interesting for me to read. This is the main character, Indigo, as she meets her husband, and they agree that they want to get married and have their life together and start a life together. She looks at him and tells him, if you are to marry me, you will not ask or look back on my past at all. You are not allowed to ask any questions about my past or dig into my past at all. And he's like, okay, I agree. And so if you're marrying somebody and that's the first few words that your partner tells you, doesn't that make you want to dig for answers or ask yourself, why is my wife telling me that I shouldn't be digging in her past and wanting to find out things about her past life? So it's very, very interesting. I highly recommend. A 4-star for me. It didn't hit the 5-star mark, but just because I just feel like something was missing with it, but it was so good. Such a good reading experience. And I feel like if you're gonna dabble into fantasy, always dabble into one that has not just the politics and the world building, but one that has romance in it too, and it's a little bit dark. And it was just so unhinged at the end. I was like, oh my gosh. And then it was so creepy and it was so descriptive and so detailed. I just ate it up. I enjoyed this book so much. Okay guys, so that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you've read any of these books, and I will catch you on the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you soon. Bye!